So here's your out of bounds assignment, right? It's supposed to be something like this. And it's a little tricky the first time you do it, but it actually is, it's only a couple of different masks sandwiched on top of each other. So I'm going to go through it step by step so you guys can see how to do this. Let me open up I'm going to use the same image. Where is it? Where is he? Here it is. Okay. So this is what I started with, and this is what we ended up with, right? That's the assignment. Correct? That's what we're looking for? Okay. So this is, what would you call this? It's kind of a graphic, kind of a illustration, graphic manipulation type of thing. Okay. So, and then I'll save this as a separate video for you guys as well. So here's my image. I'm going to unlock it and I'm going to copy it. And the first thing I'm going to do is make the area that I want to be the photo frame. And I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool. Let's do about waist. I think I did it a little, but waist down, make a frame about like so. That looks good. Now, I'm going to use a layer mask to clip that. So I'm going to come down and click the layer mask button. So if I turn off the bottom layer, I've got this. All right, so that's the part of the picture that's going to be where he's coming out of the frame. So now I'm going to go down to that bottom layer and I'm going to copy it again, put it on top of it, and now I'm going to I'll turn off the bottom. I'm just leaving this down here in case I make a mistake. So now I'm going to take this top layer and I'm going to create I'm going to select them out. So I'm going to grab my, let's use the object selection tool, and I'll just do a trap. Excellent. So that's actually did a really good job. I don't even think I need to go in and clean that up. Okay, yeah, looks pretty good. So now I'm going to hit the layer mask button again, and you'll see that I've knocked him out. And it looks like he's on this background because the bottom layer is like this, and the top layer is like this. Looking good, right? Okay. So now we want
Wait,
to.
sorry. Can you do the last step one more time? Did you mask it, please?
Yeah, I'll step backwards. So the first time I hit the, where's my history brush? So the first time what I did was I made a rectangular marquee and I clicked the layer mask button. Then I duplicated the layer, put that layer on top. I made a selection and I clicked the layer mask button again. So it's two masks. Let me turn them all off and look at them one at a time. This one is just the bottom area masked out. And this one is the guy masked out. And when you have them over each other, it looks like this. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. So now the next part of this is to make it look like it's like a Polaroid or something like that. So I'm going to make another layer in between these two layers. And then I want to use this shape to create a path. So I'm going to, anytime you want to make a selection from a layer mask, you hold on to Control or what would that be on your Mac? Command, and I make a selection. Now this is the active layer. I made the selection from here, but the area that's going to have paint is going to be here. And then I'm going to go up to edit, and I'm going to go to stroke, and I'm going to make the stroke 50 pixels, and I'm going to make it white. So now there's a big stroke around the pixel. Let's make it bigger. Let's do it again. Stroke. Let's make another 50 pixels. Make it 100. Make it 75. Let's see how that looks. Okay, select, deselect. Okay, so I've got a border around the picture. Now, I want to make a background for the picture. So I'm going to go down to, this is just for safekeeping. Go down to the bottom layer and make a new layer. I'm going to fill that layer with some color. I'm going to make the background like a blue-gray. So I'm going to click into the foreground color swatch. I'm going to do a two-step gradient. I'm going to choose a blue. Then I'm going to click into the background color gradient and choose another blue. Then I'm going to grab my gradient tool and make a gradient. There we go. All right. So we're almost there. Now from here, what I want to do is I want to sell the effect. So I'm going to put a drop shadow around him. And I'm going to bend the corners of the photograph and paint a drop shadow there. So what I would do is stop here and save it and call it, out of bounds photo step 1 or something like that, right? So I'm going to duplicate this, image duplicate, right? So if anything goes wrong, I can fall back on that step. Now, what I want to do is I want to apply a drop shadow to him. So I'm going to go back up to this layer. I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool and draw it down like so.
When you duplicated it, what did you duplicate? The entire
canvas. I went to image and duplicated the entire canvas.
Okay.
Actually, instead of making a selection, I'm going to copy this layer. I'm just going to copy the whole layer. And then I'm going to take the whole bottom of the picture. Got to make sure I hit that line. Let me zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to delete it in the paint layer, click over and delete it in the mask layer, select, deselect. Then I'm going to throw away the layer mask. When I throw it away, I'm going to apply it. I'm going to click there. I'm going to apply it. So now I have, turn off all the layers. I have this. And the reason why I want this is so that I can paint his drop shadow. So with that selected, I'm going to make another layer, put it underneath. I'm going to grab my paintbrush and put black forward. And I'm going to paint a shadow like this. Okay. So now when I turn it on, all the layers, I have that. And I can take that shadow, I can lower its opacity. But the shadow makes it look like he's in relief, right? Okay, now, the next part is making the photograph bend. So what I would do, you could do this, I would save again and or duplicate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift click and select. So because I worked into making all this into separate layers, I would save a version of it like this so that if anything goes wrong, I can fall back on it. Does that make sense? So I'm going to duplicate, image duplicate. Okay. Now with all those layers selected, I'm going to flatten it. So that's why I have a version of it unflattened, right? I'm going to merge visible. No, I'm going to merge layers. Let's see what do I want. Yeah, merge layers. So that's going to merge all those layers. Okay, so all that's on one layer. Now, I'm going to come down into this layer. I'm going to make a selection over that postcard part. I'm going to go up to edit, transform, and I'm going to use warp. And I'm going to warp the edges of it, of the photo. So it looks like it's bending. And that makes it look, select, deselect. That gives it that distortion. Now it looks like he's jumping out of there. Now I'm going to go out to the bottom layer and I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to grab my paintbrush and I'm just going to paint a shadow underneath there. And fade it back. There we go, something like that. And then what I'm going to do is shift click and select those two layers, go up to edit, choose free transform, and rotate it. Scale it in a little bit. And click the commit button. And there's your out of bounds assignment. Okay.